All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. If you're watching me live in Facebook, let me know that you are watching me live. I'm trying to pull up our group as well so I can monitor comments. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Sarbjeet. You may be watching this in Business Analyst and Scrum Master in Demand Facebook group or YouTube channel. And what I'm going to do today is continue with the word training that we started last week. Lots of times, business analysts, Scrum Masters, project managers, product owners, anybody in this domain may need to create lots of documentation. And when we create documentation, it's important that you have a professional look and feel on those documents so that they look presentable. So let me rename myself. I'm Sarbjeet. All right. So with that, let's get started. If you are watching me live in our Facebook group, leave me a comment to let me know that you are watching live. If you are watching on a replay, let me know that you watch as a replay, because this kind of feedback is important, right? Because then that lets me know which topics that we can or should be training on. So again, leave your comments as you have them. If you have comments after this live is over, I'll go back and answer those comments. But today we are going to finish the word training that I started last week. And as I said, that as business analysts, Scrum Master, project managers, product owners, we sometimes have to create a lot of documentation. And these are just a few tips on how you can make your documents look a little bit more polished, a little bit more professional. Okay. So with that, let me get started. Let me share my screen and make sure I have the right documents up. Okay. So I am going to share. Okay, so this is the document that I was following last week. Last week, if you missed the session, give me 1 second. Stop sharing. All right, we are still good. Okay, so these are the topics that I covered last week in last week's session. So if you missed that, or if you're interested in understanding how to do these things, they're in our video last week. This week, I'm going to cover the rest of these items, right? And then I want to do something similar to this for Excel, right? How do you submit Excel documentation? Same thing with PowerPoint as well, because these three items are the most commonly used applications at work for business analysts, for project managers. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and Microsoft PowerPoint are the three main tools. And it's important, like I said, that your content looks presentable. So with that, let me get started. We're going to be talking about these items today. I'm going to start with how to add figures, page margins. Do we have headers and footers? Okay, so I don't have headers. Okay, headers and footers on different pages. Okay, great. So let's get started. So last week when I was doing the training, I covered some of these topics with you guys last week. And today I'm going to continue building on that. This was our table of contents last week. This is the content. As I said, I picked an article on Google, and I'm trying to, again, show you how it needs to look in a professional setting. So this is going back to, what the document in print will look like. I have it zoomed in so it's easier for you guys to see what I'm doing on the screen. And we added headers, we added table of contents, we made sure that our content is consistent across the document, and we made sure that our spacing within the document was also very consistent, right? So again, any questions on those, go back and watch the replay from last week. And then also when you're adding tables, I showed you how if your table spans across two different pages, you want to make sure that the heading of that table is following the second page so that your reader is not confused on what they're looking at. So today on this one, the next topic is how to add Excel data onto a Word document. Oftentimes, you guys on your documents will have to add, some sort of data points, right? And so sometimes when I look at documentation, it doesn't look that correct, right? So I have an Excel document here that I want to import data. Generally, this is, again, there's many different ways of doing this. These are things that I use, and I'm sharing with you just so if this, looks good to you and if it jives well, use it. Otherwise, like I said, there's many different ways to skin a cat. Use whatever works for you. So generally, when I need to copy and paste data, this is generally what an Excel document looks like. What I first do is insert a row and a column above the data, so it's easy for me to grab the data, right? Sometimes if you don't have space to grab the data, it becomes really difficult to navigate that, right? So generally what I do is I first added a row and a column and a row to my data, so I have extra space to grab this data. The next thing I do is, I use Snippet, right? Snippet is a tool that is available through Microsoft, a suite of applications. And the way that you find it, you can go to your start and type in Snippet, SNIPIT. And this is what it looks like. It looks like a little scissor, right? You're going to use this. And what you can do is when you click on new, you'll notice that everything kind of goes gray. So what that does is it allows you to select what you want to use. And here, what I've done is I've grabbed that piece of content or that data that I want to put onto my document. I will do copy and then go back to my original document. And then Control V, or you can do, file paste, but Control V works. So now you have this, pretty looking data that you copied over from Excel. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to reshape this thing so that way it looks presentable. And also when you reshape it, you're just grabbing the coordinates on so anytime, a quick tip, right? Anytime you want to resize your images, you never want to do this, right? You never want to consolidate this, because look at how that looks, right? It compresses the text. So anytime you want to resize an image, always grab it from the diagonals, right? Always grab it from the bottom or the top to make sure that the sizing keeps the data intact, okay? Let me know if that makes sense in the comments. All right, so here is what that looks like. Generally, what I like to do is I like to click on this. If you go on to format, you can select one of these titles or like borders to put around your image. You can select one that looks like this, right? Like this tiny thing. But for me, I don't like the way that it looks. So generally when I add data, I just add it, make it look something like this. So it kind of pops out from the document and you can see that it is, you're presenting data of some sort. But again, depends on your style and how you like to do it. You can, go through many of these options, and generally the picture tools come up when you have an image that you have on the document. So you have to click on the image and then you can navigate through the different styles that are available. Okay, so that's how you get to that. Watching for comments, no comments so far. Okay, so as I said, generally I like to just have it something that looks simple like that. Okay, so that's how you add Excel data on a Word document. The next topic is how do you add table of figures? Last week, I showed you guys how to add table of contents, right? This week, we'll talk about how to add table of figures. And sometimes in your documentation, you may need to showcase that. And it's important that your table of figures, right, if you have them show up in your table of contents in that same area, so you can showcase the different topics within the document along with any figures that you have within the document. So what I did is, if you know me and have been watching me for a while, I just typically use, I've Googled Excel data and I've just copied and pasted it using the similar technique as I showed you here, right? So again, I've resized it. and it looks something like this. Now, what I want to add table of figures, generally what I will do is this. So now that my charts look presentable and decent, I may, to add table of figures, you have to right click on this image, right click, click on insert caption. And when that comes up, you see how, because there isn't a table of figure ahead of this, it will start with number 1, right? It could be a table, you can have a table of contents, right? Or a figure of contents. In this case, I like it to be figure. And then you can position where this title comes, right? It could be above the selected item or below. I generally like to label everything above, just so people that are reading this can see or understand what data is being presented. But again, that's the stylistic item for you, whether you like it to be on the top or below. So I'll show you what they both look like. So if I do above, table of figures is going to show up here. But if I go back and insert caption and I say, I want this at the bottom, then the table of figures will show up here. Okay, so I'm going to remove this for now. Right click, insert caption. I'm going to say, cancel. Okay, so I'm going to, again, click on the image. I'm going to right click, insert caption, figure 1. I want it to be on the top, and I want it to say first table of figure. I'm going to hit OK to that. And then I'm going to continue going down, right click, insert caption, figure 2, second table of figure. Okay. So now that we have at least 2, right? Again, you have to label them, right click, and then insert caption. And that's how you can identify what you have, right? Now it's time to add it back to the table of contents. So I'm going to go back here. Similar approach to how we add table of contents. I'm going to go into references. There's an icon called insert table of figures, right? You're going to click on that and it will show you what this looks like. You can hit OK, and then your table of figures start to populate. And generally what I like to do is I like to copy this over and call this table of figures. Okay. Again, to update table of figures or table of content, you're going to click on this icon that comes up. So how do you get to this icon? I'm going to click out of it. Hold on. So when you click on your table of contents, right, there's 2 icons that will come up: table of contents, update table of contents. When you click on update, you can update page numbers only, or you can update the entire table. And if you do that, then you will have more items that show up. So this one showed up because, okay, this is a good example. This is good that this happened because I can show you how to fix it. So the reason why add table of figures showed up is because it's part of my heading. Right here. And the reason why this showed up, right, this image, you saw table of contents, and this often happens, and a lot of people struggle on how do you, in the table of contents, images are showing up, or things that don't belong in the table of content are showing up. And the way you fix this, right, is this. Let me show you. So you're going to go back to your image, this one, and the reason why it's showing up when I click on this image, you see how heading 1 is highlighted, right? And to remove, and that's the only reason that this is showing up. If you hear my little kid in the background, that's just him. He's being himself. So don't mind him. So I've highlighted my table and I said normal, right? And now when I go back and update my table of contents, that table, that icon, this image should be removed. So I'm going to double click on here, update table, entire table, and you now see that that image is now removed from our table of contents, and it was only there because it was picking up the heading over here. Okay, so to fix things that are showing up in the table of contents that don't belong there, you're gonna just make sure you remove the formatting up above right here in this panel right here. Okay. All right, so we've covered table of contents, table of figures. Now let me talk about the cover page. The required documentation that you need to have on a cover page is a document title, version number, and date. There are many different ways that you can create a cover page, right? Microsoft Office also generally has templates for you to use, right? So if you go on to insert, click on the cover letter, you can pick from some of these templates that they have ready-made for you, right? But generally what I like to do is, something that's, very simple. You can use one of the most simple ones that are out there, something like this, type document title, sub heading, your name, pick a date. But it's not necessary that you use these cover templates, but they are available and out there for you. Okay. Again, what I mentioned earlier, regardless of what format that you use, make sure your document title, your version number, and date. These are the 3 data elements that are very important for your to show up on your cover page. Okay. So let me just, create something really, really quickly. I'll just use what Microsoft has. Other things that you can use are Canva, canva.com. You can also create pretty looking templates on Canva. Let me see if you go into Canva, you can go into and say cover letter template. Canva.com is used by lots of folks. They have a free account that you can sign up for. And what you can do is you can modify templates on Canva pretty easily. So I typed in a cover page template, and lots of templates will start to populate, right? Lots of pretty looking things. What I like to just remember and advise is you want to stay within your company colors, right? You don't want to create or have a cover letter that's, like outside of your company colors. So I'm going to look for a template that is free, so you guys can just see me update a template pretty quickly. So I'll use this one just because it looks a bit simple. Oh no, this is a pro. Okay, let me find a free one. Like if you're in the construction, you can use this one, like it has buildings and things, but your cover page generally, it doesn't need to look like, it doesn't need to look too fancy, as long as it has the data that we're looking for. These are all like really jazzy for me. I always use very, very simple looking things. Because I just, simple is better often. All of these are free. Let me just do free. Okay, this looks to be a free one. Okay, we'll use this one. So if you're going to use Canva, you can just select a free template. You can go on to customize the template. And when it loads, you can, if you don't like this image, you can replace this image. You can stay within your company colors. Oh, I like this one. Let's use this one. Okay, this one looks a little bit more simple. Generally, as I said, use your company colors. Canva, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Makes it really, really easy for you to update. I like to go with blues, generally is more of a professional color. So I'm gonna just change this to blue. I'll just call this, I think the article that I copied over was called How to Live a Happy Life. So I'm gonna call this How to Live a Happy Life. Right, our date, let's make this April 2nd, 2023. I don't like to use reds. Reds generally are used to showcase not progress, like progress not being made and things like that. So generally, I like to stay away from reds in my documents. So How to Live a Happy Life, the date, version, we'll call it 2.0. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this. Oops. Actually, I will leave one of these items on here. So to navigate in Canva, you just select the text that you want. And then I generally like to put the department, right? So let's say if our department is product and marketing at IT careers for you. I'll just say product and marketing, and I'll put the logo up above. So if you wanted to change the font, you can change the font over here. And that way it depends, if you want it to make it stand out a little bit more. Okay, now to add logos, if you have a logo for your company, you can upload logos in here. I'll use IT Careers for You, and I'll plop that up right above, make it smaller, so you can put your company logo and it looks something like this. Okay, so now when you're done designing this, what you can do is you can download as an image, and when it downloads, then you can copy and paste it onto your document. Okay, and again, this is not necessary, right? Your cover pages don't need to look super fancy, but they need to cover some essential data. So once I have that downloaded, I pick it up. Generally, what I like to do is, let me move this over. Let me make this smaller. Oops, give me 1 second. Let me grab it. Actually, I can also just insert it to the document, and let's see how that looks. So you can do file insert, you can do a picture. I go into my downloads and I'll pick the one that we had. So now that image is populated onto my document. I can resize it the way that I want it to look. And I think it took on the next page over. So let me remove the cover page. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is what your cover, the one that we designed. Of course, this looks really big just because I have it, zoomed in. But this is a way that you can do it. You can also just copy and paste the way that I showed you how to do Excel. You can do it that way as well. Now we have this extra page. How do you get rid of this extra page? The way that I do it, the most fastest way is if you go to view and you go to outline, right? You're able to see the outline of your document, right? You see that there's a section break here and there's empty pages. This dot represents a page. If I delete this, right, and I close the view, you see that that page is now deleted, right? So that's the easiest way when you're looking and formatting your documents and you see that there's something funky going on, there's an extra page, you can't, delete or backspace and get rid of that page. The easiest way to do is go to view, go to outline, and you can see the outline of your document this way, right? The pluses represent the different sections or the different headings. The dots, this represents spaces, right? And section breaks are a way that you can break down your document in different pages. So lots of information I'm throwing out to you. Hopefully this makes sense. If you have questions, please put them in the comments and I will get back to you. Signature page, this is where if you need approvals, you may want to add a signature page. Oftentimes, we're finding that because of COVID and everything that's going on, that, let me remove this. With COVID and all, we're doing electronic signatures, right? Using some sort of e-sign document tool to capture those signatures. So if your organization is still doing sign-offs on the particular business requirements document or the document that you are working on, you'll need to add, people that are signing off. So you may need to add their title and the people that are signing off. But generally what we're seeing with COVID and lots of people working remote, we're using electronic signature tools to implement the signature option. Version history, I talked about this a little bit. This is where you're documenting the date, the version, the author, and the content of updates. So anybody that's going into the document after a while can see what updates have been made, right? And this is the body of our document. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is adding headers and footers, right? And how you can have different ones. So to add headers or footers, you're going to go into, I believe, insert. Yep. Insert. You're going to go to insert and I'll go and add headers, right? So generally I like to use the 3-column blank, right? Because it gives you the opportunity to add different things. Okay, so here I'll say generally goes, generally we have the title of the document, how to live a happy life. Here, I'll delete this. Here, I'll say version V 2.0, right? That indicates the version of the document, right? So when I add a header, you see that it shows up on the first page, right? And you see it shows up, the same. So it shows up here, but it doesn't show up on the version history. It doesn't show up on the table of contents, but it does show up on the body of the document, at least just on the first page. And I'll show you how to fix that. So I'm glad those things are happening as I'm updating this so that I can teach you how to fix this. Generally on the cover page, you don't want to have any headings, right? So if you click on this, right, you go on to the heading, you can say different on first page. And what that does is it removes the heading from the first page. Okay. And now you'll see that the heading, the header is removed from the first page, right? It shows up on the second page and it doesn't show up on the third page. It doesn't show up on the fourth page and it doesn't show up consistently, right? And the way that you fix that, and this is happening because we have different sections, right, that I talked about last week that are pretty important for you to have. So if you want to have the same heading, I can go here, and when I go onto the heading here, I can say link to previous, right? There's a button here that says link to previous. And it's no, hold on. link to previous. Do you want to delete and connect the headers from me? So I say yes, and it's not working. Okay, let me try that again. So let me look at the document first. So go to view, draft. Okay, so I have a section page here, section break here. Okay, so these are my section breaks. One and two. Okay. So insert header. Okay, I'm not sure why this is not happening, but I will figure that out and I'll do a separate live on that one. So generally we use section headers to make sure that we can have different different headers in different areas, but let me go through this again. Let's see if I say second header and then I say v 2.0 still. Let's see how what happens. So if I do that, I just want to see how it's working. Section header showing up for the body of the document. Okay, so this is a mystery to me. Let me figure out how to fix this and I will post another video on how to fix this. But generally, previous, next. Okay, so it's recognizing them differently. Okay, I will figure out how to do this. Okay, I'll figure this out. Not able to figure it out right now, but let's move on. Let me see if I haven't covered everything. Go back to my document. Okay, so we talked about page margins, we talked about different headers and footers, we talked about how to add figures, table of figures, how to add documents, and how to add images. So in the event that you have a PowerPoint presentation that you want to add, I don't recommend, adding the full PowerPoint on to your Word documents. You may want to add Word, Excel. So if you wanted to link a document, like a Word document on here, you can do that. So let me show you how to do that. So let's say, for example, you want to reference, so I'll close that, reference another document. So let me add another section. How to add documents. Okay. And I will make sure that I copy this format just so my headers are consistent. So in order to add documents, you can go to insert, then let me see where that is. Insert, not page number, references. I know it's here. Give me 1 second. No. There's also a way that you can add hyperlinks, insert hyperlinks. Okay, so those are the maybe next things that I can talk about. I've done it in the past. I haven't done some of these things most recently, so I'm not sure. Okay, here it is. Okay, so hyperlink, how to add hyperlinks. Sometimes you may have documents that are on SharePoint or something, and you may want to include a hyperlink to, or reference to an external document or something. So here I'll just use canva.com. I'm going to copy that. You're going to go back to your Word document, the one that you're working off of. You're going to go to insert, and there's a Word document, like a globe icon. You're going to click on that. Right, you're gonna put in what text you want it to display, how to link to Canva, right? That's what I wanted to display. And in the address file, you're gonna go and type in the web address for this, right? So you can go in and have that. So when you click on this, now it'll take you to canva.com right there. So that's how you insert hyperlinks. Another topic is how to insert documents. Again, I will always copy and paste so that my formatting stays consistent. And I'll go back into insert. And I believe maybe I can do hyperlink, place in this document. No. Okay. I forgot how to add documents. I will do that at a different, I'll do like a shorter video of that. But I have done it before. Okay, so I will add that to the next shorter video that I do along with the section headers. So again, I've added a few sections, so that means that I have to go back and update tables, update entirely, and now you see how some of these things are showing up, right? So how to add hyperlinks, how to link to Canva is showing up as a header. I need to go back and fix it. And then how to add documents. Microsoft Office is pretty easy to use, but it is not the most friendliest tool out there. So that's why you have to make sure that you look at your documents and make sure that they are presentable before you share them with your team or your peers. So I'll go back and fix it. Let me see, hit update entire table. And now you see that that item goes away. All right. I think that's all for now. I don't believe we have any comments. I hope you found this helpful. Two things that I owe you guys are the different headers, right, on different sections, and then how to add Word or Excel documents with embed them into your document. Okay. And I'll do a shorter video of how to do that for you guys. Again, I hope you found this helpful. Let me know what other topics you'd like me to talk about. I'm more than happy to talk about these if they are in fact helpful to you guys. All right. Again, this is Sarjeet. I'll see you guys again next week. Same place, same time. I'll see ya. Bye.